Hello, dear students. I am going to tell you something about education, which is the first topic of our syllabus. And as you know, it is a very difficult thing to talk to you in my uh, in a place which is far away from you. But thanks to the modern inventions through the mobiles and other machines, we are in a position to talk about. And the first lesson of the syllabus, as you know, is nature and meaning of education. And I'm interested today to talk to you about the word or the term education. Education has essentially been derived from a Greek word and a Greek language. The language, as you know, is Latin, and two words, educatum and edicere, are the words from where the present word education has come to us. And what it uh, connotes or what it means is to draw out the best of the child, or to bring up the child, or to nourish the person. In order to develop him, uh, the parents, the home, and all agencies are doing a lot many things to see that the child is brought up and nourished properly and the best is drawn out of him. The Greek philosopher Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, from where the present uh, education and it is philosophy comes to us, they believe that education is creation of sound mind in a sound body. These were the words given to us by Aristotle, a disciple of Plato and Socrates. Sound mind in a sound body. Greeks basically believed that human being is embodiment of the physical material body of the child, and within him there is something which we call mind. And they were interested that both the body and the mind have to be looked into, and the person has to be enabled, trained, or brought up in such a way that he should not only be physically fit and physically healthy and strong, but that he should mentally also be very intelligent, very sound. They use the word sound. And therefore, education was all those things, whether it was the love of the parents, the home of the child, whether it were the various activities in which he was engaged, or he would see people doing at home, or whether it was the language and the words and the ideas that were spoken to him or spoken in between various members of the family, all activities, in fact, everything that the child looked to or heard about and tried to speak himself, all these things contributed to the development of the child and ultimately a sound body and the sound mind. And they believed, the Greek philosophers believed, that this sound body and this sound mind will be in a position finally to see that uh, there are three very important things in this worldly life. One is truthfulness, and the child must somehow develop the trait of speaking truth, and also that he will cherish beauty, he will become beautiful or she will become beautiful, and that the whole nature, the whole environment around him is full of beauty, and also ultimately this truth and beauty will culminate, or you can say end, in giving us a child who is good, who is an embodiment of goodness. So they believed that these are the three targets of human life. Our sound mind and sound body should finally mean us a human being who is truthful, who is beautiful, and above all, who is good to himself and to all those with whom he has to live. This, in fact, was the initial, the Greek interpretation or translation of what education meant. You have in your own country, India, Mahatma Gandhi, who was not only a politician, not only a leader, but he was well versed in the uh, modern uh, branches of human knowledge, and education being one. And about education, his ideas, I may quote him saying, he says, these are his words, by education I mean all drawing out that is best in man and child, body, mind, and spirit. Let me explain it. So, Mahatma Gandhi talked about man and child. That means education is not only for the little ones or for the small children, but that education is a process which continues throughout life, man and child. That is what he says, that whether a person is man or a child, the process of education is continuous, and what he meant by education of this man and child is everything that can be developed in the child in three dimensions. Human being, he considered, has three important dimensions, that is body, that is a material substance, mind, which is inside him, and the spirit, which of course is the quality of his behavior. So he also had three important targets of human life, whether a child or a man, and anything that goes to develop these three important traits goes to the list of education. So that Mahatma Gandhi, who gave basic education concept to the people of India, and which is still worthwhile, he was of the opinion that anything that develops a child into, whether it is the teacher, the formal classroom teacher, the parents, or the environment around him, whosoever, any agency, any idea, any experience, which will help him to grow and to develop physically strong, physically healthy, physically fit. Similarly, mentally very sharp, mentally very intelligent, intelligent enough to understand himself and his environment, and above all, finally, it is not the physical, healthy, and mentally sharp person whom Gandhiji calls as educated, but that in addition to the physical well-being or physical health or the mental health, the sharpness of mind, yes, these are two very important wheels of human life. But then, with this physical strength and mental sharpness, the child must be spiritually developed also. He believed in the spiritual uh, dimension, the final uh, trait which, of course, makes a human being really useful to himself and to the people in which he lives or to the society. And that is what Gandhiji says, that this is a process which cannot be done overnight, or this is a process which cannot be done only in the classroom. It is all our environment, all people around the child, all through life we go on changing and developing physically, mentally, and spiritually. And all those things, all those ideas, all those experiences which concentrate or which help a child to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually should be taken as education. You have another person who talks about education, John Dewey. He was and he is considered as the most modern philosopher of education. He belonged to America, but he lived a very rich life in not only in the country he was born, that is America. The American educationist and philosopher or the scientist John Dewey, he has written a book on education also, Democracy and Education. In that, he tries to explain uh, at length and very in clear cut terms what education he considered to be education. Education, in his words, let me quote, he says, is a process of living through continuous experience. Education, I read it again, is a process. It is not something which starts at on one day or in one year. It is a process of living. And all through your life, it's a process and it goes on. It doesn't start on a particular day and ends in a particular time limit. As we generally consider that education is something which starts with the going to the school somewhere after 2 3 years of after birth, and it ends with the university uh, getting a degree or a research degree, but that he was of the opinion that education is a process of living through continuous experience. You go on experiences all through your life, and your process of experience does not complete on in one day or in one go. It is a development of, and he says further. Let me say, he was of the opinion that it is a development of all those capacities in the individual. That every individual, every human being is an embodiment of various capacities, various abilities, various traits, and all those traits are developing side by side. When a child grows, he talks, he moves, he recognizes, he forgets, he remembers, he goes on improving, he goes on changing, he goes on developing. That is what he says. It is the development of all those capacities in the individual which will enable him to control his environment and fulfill his possibilities. There are two things that he makes a child who is confronted with from time to time. Number one is environment. Environment means all those people around him, all those physical uh, dimensions like geography of the people, climate of the country, and so on and so forth. So he is of the opinion that an individual must be so developed, he must develop in such a manner or in such a way as to control his environment. That quality must be there with him. He must not become helpless before the environment, but that he must be able to control the environment. And for that, he, he has to be equipped with all those abilities, all those capacities, as he says, so that fulfills his possibilities. And fulfill his possibilities means every human being has a possibility, has a future. And in his future life or in his lifetime, he is by nature, or nature has given him so many possibilities, so many, uh, so many facilities will be provided to him. There will be many hardships that he will have to face. There will be many opportunities that he will have to utilize or take the benefit of. And this individual must be so developed and so grown that he is able to fulfill his possibilities. That is, whatever he is fit for, whatever capacity he has grown and developed, must enable him to become a useful person not only to himself but to the entire environment. So, education is not limited to a particular period of childhood, period of adolescence, period of adulthood. No, it starts one day, and the day is born, the child is born, and then it moves on with him all through his life. There is another person, a very controversial person, of course, but he says, and I hope you will understand and appreciate his words. I will read them. I hope you could also remember them, because I also remember it. It is like this: the man or the person was a French philosopher. Yes, the French philosopher is Rousseau, Jean Jacques Rousseau. He is very much controversial in the books of education, but you can, if I am able to convey to you, you can appreciate and you can cherish the language that he has given to us. And a simple sentence that I have got for you, and which of course is read by all people about education, he says, everything, these are his words, everything as it comes from the hands of the author of the nature is good. God creates everything in this world as good. Everything as it comes from the hands of the author of nature is good, and everything degenerates in the hands of man. He was talking of the present civilized world, wherein the whole world is polluted and many things are done in the name of education, which of course are not really educated. Man has been subjected to evil doings or wrong things, and though of course God never meant that man should come to this world and do wrong, uh, and you can yourself understand and think about from these words. They are very comprehensive, they mean many things. As he says, I hope you understand, it's very simple: everything as it comes from the hands of the author of nature is good. God has created everything as good, and everything degenerates in the hands of man. But man has not been able to do justice to the cause of education, to develop him properly, and thereby there is so much of sinful and so much of wrongdoing in this world. So actually, what he meant is God is good, and he wanted that this human being should also become good. All his life, body, mind, and spirit, shall ultimately give us uh, a world which is full of goodness. So, from all these three to four great philosophers or educationists of the history, uh, I have tried to explain to you how people think about education. Education, we have about education one more agency. Of course, you might have heard about that agency. It is a national agency, Indian Education Commission. This Indian Education Commission is generally written as in books you read IEC, IEC, Indian Education Commission. This commission was appointed in the year 1962 to 64. 2 3 years it worked throughout India. All great educations of not only of India but people from outside were also got here, and they were given this assignment of doing uh, some business on education. They also spoke about education. I will read out some lines for your convenience, for your facility. It is like this, as they say: education is related to life, its needs and aspirations of people. So they believed that education belongs to this world, belongs to the people, belongs to the life of the people, needs of the people, and aspirations. What they aspire for, what they wish to achieve, that is aspiration. And thereby makes them powerful, and this education makes people powerful instrument of social, economic, and cultural transformation. A little bit of attention is needed. They believe that there are three very important points in the environment which have to be considered in the program of education. One is the social part of it, that a person has to be developed and grown in such a manner that he is a successful person who can not only accommodate himself in the society but also bring desirable changes in the society. An educated person is a person who not only is able to adjust himself in the society, in the people around him, but that whatever is not profitable or whatever is not good, he must be able to fight against that and prepare people that whatever is evil has to be wiped out. Similarly, economic, another dimension of our environment is economic dimension, that every human child has to be trained in some kind of vocation. That every human child must be able to earn his living, must do something so that he becomes useful not only to himself but to many others. So therefore, as somebody has said, that God created man with one mouth to eat. We eat with one mouth, but two hands to work with. So you have two hands, and with two hands you can produce so much that you can not only satisfy your own one mouth, your own belly, but that you can perhaps keep in store and provide surplus from your two hands that will be beneficial. That is the economic side. So every educated person is an educated person on condition that he is economically useful to himself. He is in a position to earn his bread. And third, cultural transformation. Cultural transformation, when we use this word culture, you use language. Language is a part of culture. In fact, what is culture? Culture is everything that man has been able to collect, that man has been able to construct, that man has been able to invent to facilitate his life. It can be a language, it can be art, it can be music, it can be drama, it can be sports, it can be roads, it can be buildings, it can be anything that facilitates human life, that makes human life easy, interesting, and cherishing. So everything uh, therefore goes to culture, is a part of our environmental decoration. So Indian Education Commission was of the opinion that education gives you a training of life, or it enables you to pick up a style of life in which you are not only useful socially for the society, that you are not only to transform your society, you are not only adding to make your society grow and become rich and richer, but that you are economically viable, that you can produce things in this world. For there are needs, poverty, there is poverty. There are many people who are not in a position, who are poor, and for those poor and needy people, you must, if you are properly educated, your education must enable you so that you produce things, and you produce not only for your own needs, but that those who require, who need it, who cannot do it. And similarly, there is need for for the transformation. Transformation means change, a good change, a refined change, refinement. So we need, we have ideas which may be very conservative ideas. We have habits which may not be uh, appreciated or useful or scientifically may be harmful. So there are many ideas in the world that, of course, are not scientific and correct. There are sometimes certain ideas which are based on ignorance, and they are very harmful. They handicap us move forward. And therefore, when we say education in fact removes all such uh, kinds of misinformation, wrong ideas, unscientific things. That is what uh, Indian Education Commission uh, gives opinion about education. Let me conclude. I think you have to read books. I have given you only an idea of some people who are considered to be an authority on how to think in terms of education and what we actually mean by education. For me, let me conclude, it is a continuous process of development from the beginning to the end. That is, of course, what all these people are heading towards. So I hope you also must have understood and you will appreciate this conclusion that education is a continuous process of development. A human child or a human being is growing, is developing, uh, and this process of growth and development of many faculties, mental, physical, emotional, cultural, and all that, this continuous process of developing from beginning to the end, this process of development, this process of growth should be taken as education. And this education does not mean one day's job, it is a full time job of total life, all the experiences that should make a man useful citizen, a dynamic personality, and a truly good human being to himself and to the society at large. Thank you very much. We meet inshallah again, and there will be some more lectures. Let me tell you, please. We have informed all of you. I have got all the concerned teachers have been directed that they will prepare some lessons for you, and I will inshallah myself be after it, and I will also myself be talking to you. Please contact your teacher if at all anybody talks to you, online, and keep your time accordingly, keep yourself available, because the college in these days um, is not in a position to help you to come uh, in close contact in the classrooms. So I hope this opportunity of talking through the machines is a better exercise today under the present circumstances, and I hope you will cooperate and work at your own places. Thank you very much.